because of the many experiences that I had with children in the classroom and partnering with teachers, I realized how profound dramatic play can be in terms of children's learning experiences. So I really wanted to be able to put together the strategies and the ways in which dramatic play can enhance learning for children. Children are so wonderful in terms of what they can contribute to play, and it was just too much to resist, to not want to really play this out with in the book and to really write down the strategies and things. It's definitely a book that walks teachers through the possibilities for play, for dramatic play in the classroom. And I've used lots and lots of examples from my own experiences. So it's very practical in that sense. It's not specific in terms of content and how to, take this particular aspect of a social studies story, for instance, and walk your way through it. It's more of the general techniques and strategies. And I think it's a very useful classroom text for teachers to use if they want to get into dramatic play. First of all, it's a child's natural way of learning. And I think we forget that in the classroom oftentimes. And secondly, it's a way for children to really experience learning. So it's not just outside of them, but it is them. They're being the learning experience. So if you're studying animals, for instance, they are the animals and they are learning how the animal functions and what the issues and problems might be for the animals, and bringing them together as an animal community and working through some of the problems and issues of the animal community. So it's embodying the experience rather than it being simply a paper and pencil task or something that's outside of them. It's really them. They are participating in it. This was with a kindergarten class, and they were very interested in castles. Most kindergarten classes are interested in castles. So what we did was we set up a day in the life of the castle. So there were cooks and there were knights, of course, and there were lots of princesses. And there was one of the little boys who didn't often participate in group play, built a castle wall. And what happened was the teacher took on the role of the queen, and the queen's crown disappeared. So always in dramatic play, something happens, right? It has to happen. So she gathered her entourages together, the people of the castle together, and presented them with this issue that her crown had disappeared. Well, the children searched all over the place. We had hidden it quite successfully, so they couldn't find the crown. So it was quite a problem. And the next day, a note appeared, a very badly written note with kind of crumply paper and strange writing. And it happened to be from a dragon who confessed that the dragon had stolen. I don't remember if it was a male or female dragon, but we'll say she confessed that she had stolen the crown. Well, the children were quite afraid of the dragon, so the whole issue of fear came into play here. Should we trust the dragon? Are we afraid of the dragon? What do dragons do? So we went into a whole series of things around dragons. But this is where a teacher's imagination and risk-taking becomes important. The teacher on the weekend met a glass blower and she asked him to blow 2 blue tears, glass tears, and she presented those. They came into the classroom suddenly on Monday morning. They were there on a pillow. And the children instantly, of course, said, "These are dragon tears." And so they concluded that the dragon was crying and was wanting something, was crying because of maybe stealing the crown. The dragon wanted them for friends. The dragon was lonely. So it shifted their notion of fear to friendship. And then the next layers of the experience was all about friendship. So that's a remarkable experience for those children. And I suspect it's a memorable experience for both the children and the teacher. And always the stories are big stories, right? So it's an important thing to remember when teachers are partnering with children. Every chapter there are several stories that come from my experience. So it's not like I'm making them up. They're actual experiences that I've had with children in the classroom and with teachers. One of the things that happens over and over and over again with teachers who are starting off is they start with the high action, the knights running off to protect the queen or whatever, without preparing the children. So the preparation, the practice is as important as the play itself. And it's like in any learning experience, we don't ask children to just jump into the times table. We lay in the groundwork so that when they take action, it's authentic and it's believable. And in my experience, this is what children love to do. They love to practice over and over and over again. I don't know how many times I've called the animals to the clearing and said, I don't believe you. You didn't look like bears and whatever. So go back to your den and come back again, and we'll see whether or not you're believable. So that's an important feature. So backing up from the action is going to be important. I think that's one of the main issues. And then to take some risks, have some courage to take some risks, and not to worry about it because it's all part of the play experience. It's all part of what they know as players. I think the first thing is to look for story possibilities that all the children can live through together. So it's not a you're not looking for stories where there are separate entities, but where the children are together as a group. So that's one of the main things. And then the story should hold some kind of problem or issue or crisis or tension. That's important. And then to remember as a teacher that you're not outside of the story, you're a co-constructor with the children. I think that becomes a challenge for teachers, but it's a very important thing. And children love it when you participate with them. Um, so not to be afraid of being part of the story. And then, as I said before, to back up from the action and lay in the groundwork so that when you take action, it's believable and it's authentic and the children feel confident in themselves as participants. And that's part of theater. We practice in theater and we do the research. So if I'm going to be an oak tree, I have to practice being an oak tree and I have to know how an oak tree is shaped and how an oak tree might talk. So that's part of it. And then for the teacher to plan a beginning, whether it's a meeting or a secret hiding place or a strange object that shows up or a letter. So that beginning has to provide the momentum for the play experience. And then for the teacher to stay alert to the possibilities for the story to continue. And this is all part of muddying the waters, right? It shouldn't be simple. It should be complex. It's not easy, for instance, if children are escaping to cross the river, they have to think of strategies and ways that they do it that are authentic and real. Dorothy Heathcote always said, never go down with a sinking ship. And I think that is important to stop, discuss, start again, regroup, start again, wait for the recess bell so that it's not something that you have to go on. If it's not working, don't go on with it. Just stop. And I think it's all part of children learning to work together and for learning to be experienced and explored in partnership with the teachers. So I think those are important points to remember. That's what dramatic play brings to the classroom, is that sense of community, because the children are playing together, and that's an important feature. They're not going off in different groups, they're playing together. And so when a teacher is planning a dramatic story experience, they need to think about what is the togetherness here? What brings these children together? And once they've experienced even just the first portion of a playing together experience, there's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to discuss. Where to next? What was actually happening? How did they feel about this? So there's a deepening of the experience as they go along. And I think that gives the teacher lots of insight in terms of who the children are and surprising insights too. And I think that helps the teacher understand how that community is functioning and how different individual children are rising to participate And again, I've seen lots of situations in which children who have been on the periphery of the classroom have come to the foreground and have really been the key players, as it were, in the story. And I think that's huge in terms of the dramatic play that teachers launch in their classrooms. I think the other thing is um, during and after the dramatic play experience, there's so much spillover. There's just a plethora of possibilities that can go on, and I think that because it's play, there's an eagerness on the part of children to keep pursuing it. So I think that those kinds of things can't be neglected when you enter into a play experience. Yeah. It's exciting. It's very exciting.